Okay, everybody, we're going to talk about chapter 4 here. And this is, the influences on our thoughts and on our actions. So if we go and jump to some of the influences on our belief action and actions, obviously the environment we live in, I always like to kind of say that, we live in, kind of, uh, what's the best word to use? Kind of different types of culture throughout the United States. Like somebody from California is going to be a lot different than somebody from Texas and Florida and some things like that. So the environment in the area we live in can definitely influence our ways of thinking and acting. Also, agents of political socialization, whether it's the media, schools, or whatever. Demographics, that includes culture, and political psychology, which we'll get into. And if you look at this figure right here, you could see all the things that influence our beliefs, personality, and human nature, whether it's like we said, agents of political socialization, the environment and actions, or even, our kind of hardwiring our personal characteristics. So the environment includes literally everything outside the individual, whether it's political elements of the social and cultural system, elements of economic order, and physical features of the government. So let's look at these. One interesting one out of this is elements of economic order. If you're lower on the socioeconomic pay scale, you might feel differently than a wealthy person. Somebody like me who grew up, of a biracial background might feel differently about issues as well. Elements. And how government is physically set up, and how government is a physical feature, which we'll look into. The environment might activate, repress, transform, and amplify a person's political environment. Meaning, things that happen might influence a person. Things that we might see might influence a person. Personal kind of trials and tribulations will affect how we feel, and most of these elements have little or no effect at any given moment. One illustration the book talks about is Myanmar's government limits information. Kind of the thing where we see governments censor material, because when you think about it and you look at it, one way to get kind of more in tune with what's going on in the world is to read and, to process information. And if the government's limiting that information, it doesn't help us be able to expand our thought process. So also, political parties can be involved. The book talks about the Communist Party, which was in Eastern Europe from after World War II all the way up to the end of the 80s. And now, it looks at Romania, who was actually a communist party. Now, Romania has 17 active political parties, and 8 parties hold seats in parliament after it became a free country. Now, let's also talk about socialization. This is the process through which individuals acquire their beliefs and values about the world, whether it's the family, where most of us learn a lot of things, schools, which a lot of us learn stuff in, especially with school curricula, social networks, whether it's our friends, church, school, peer groups, clubs, and so on. And also interaction on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and some of the more popular social media networks out there. The media is also a very strong agent of political socialization. Remember, the media kind of socializes us on how to feel about political phenomena. Remember, the media kind of dictates what is important and what is popular, and in a sense, they come across as, that change agent or that agenda-setting person that, can not only prevent us from hearing news, but also kind of tweak the news to what fits their narrative. And kind of research concludes that few people absorb media information in a way that significantly changes most of their political attitudes or actions. I don't think I necessarily agree with that. I think we're a very, sheep-like population at times, where we blindly follow things, and the media is used to maybe enhance fears or try to quell fears, hold stories that might be important to us and not give them any press, or maybe also, give stories that might not be, totally significant to what our environment leads to. Demographics also, such as age, gender, ethnicity, education, income, your status, occupation. These are all could be influences on, where you vote or where you act. Generally more women are going to be Democrat than males. Generally, Latino is going to be, and an African American are going to be more Democrat than Caucasians. Younger people are going to identify more with progressive politics as opposed to older people. It's just some really, interesting characteristics that we look at. Income, education is a big predictor on ideology. The more you get through school, there is an argument that you become a little bit more liberal. So, I mean, it's just, a matter of perspective here. And then obviously religion. One thing though about religion is, I really need to preface this by saying it's based off of the level of religiosity as opposed just to being a member of a religious sect. Those people that are more active in church tend to be a little bit more conservative, and that's just the way things go. Psychology also, theories have been developed to explain political behavior. Rational choice theory is a big theory that comes out of the University of Michigan. It bases an explanation of group or individual political actions on the claim that they have relatively stable preferences and that they will try to think through how to achieve outcomes consistent with those preferences, or kind of some type of logical belief system that one might have. A cognitive and affective psychology. It suggests that the brains can make decisions more rapidly than deliberative, rational thought can manage. Intergroup relations, having, relationships with different economic groups or different racial groups or so on. And your personality and psychodynamics, how you're hardwired, as we looked at biopolitics, and maybe try to explain the human brain function and how that is, how it kind of dictates our political behavior. So if we look at it again, there's 4 types of explanations that look at the way our actions and our thoughts are influenced: the environment, socialization, demographics, and psychology. Okay, so we'll go ahead and tie this chapter up here, and then we'll continue with chapter 5.
Watch the high fastball right here. Change up.